Welcome back, guys. I would like to welcome you back to the second episode of Controversial Card Channel. I hope everybody's having a good week. I had to change the name of my channel because I did get some quality feedback on the first episode, and someone informed me that I might get copyright infringement notice on my channel for the use of 21 Jump Street because that name has been used for a show. So, that's not, I don't need no problems. I don't want no problems. I have enough problems in life right now. So, I decided to change the name of the channel to Controversial Car Channel, mainly because everything I say controversial. It's always been like that. I don't know why. It's 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 like everything I say controversial until it becomes a fact. And 95% of the time, I'm gonna say 90% of the time, what I say is a fact. It's a controversial because people don't uh believe it. Like for example, if I say the sky is originally black, right? But the average person will say, no, you must be blind. The sky is blue. Look up, right? So what a lot of people don't realize is that the sky reflects what it sees, just like the water reflects what it sees. The sky is blue because the earth is almost 75% water. So it's going to reflect water, but if you go past, now, first of all, we're not going to get into the globe with the flat earth theory. That's not the shuttle for this. But if you go past, the atmosphere and whatnot, that's the sky. You know what I mean? There's a reason why the sun was created, because everything is black. But anyway, welcome back to the Controversial Car Channel. Uh, it's just, when I was born, the doctor said, that's a controversial baby. He got, he's going to be a problem. I'm going to be a problem. But, I wanted to talk about one of the biggest topic, one of the biggest topic in the hobby, which is print runs. I'm not specifically going to talk about print runs because nobody really knows, aside from Beckett Media Group. I don't know how they get in their numbers, but they were one of the first. They were one of the original tenants in the hobby back in the early '80s and the '90s. So they do have a leg up on most companies in the hobby, including Panini. But I wanted to talk about print runs in reference to the manufacturers that are manufacturing our cars or manufacturing our stocks and dividends. Because I look at our collectible as stocks and dividends. So, and I think most of us should look at it. It's a hobby first because it's tapped into our enjoyment of life. It's tapped into our, life. There are a lot of negative. It's like when someone goes to their mail block and 80%, 85% of the time when you get your mail, it's either bad news or it's somebody asking for money or it's bill, right? Then you have the other time when you get your mail, it may be a random check. Or in this case, it's it's cars you bought. So it brings that positive bright child-like aspect of life to us. So let's enjoy it while we can, and let's take care of it today so it can be enjoyed in the future. Now, Panini is my main focus today. I wanted to talk to you guys about my thought coming back into the hobby. But let me take it back to when I started in the hobby. I'm going to say back in 92, 1992, 1991, 1993, in the early 90s. And back then, the only companies back then that were producing cars, sporting cars, were Upper Deck, Tops, Donruss, and Skybox. Those are the four off the top of my head. Now, the biggest one was Upper Deck, and they had exclusive rights across the board, and that made them a household name and a powerhouse. It's more like when Nike and Reebok and Adidas were formed in the late 80s and early 90s, because back in the 80s it was about Converse, and Converse kind of died out because of Michael Jordan. Mainly, Michael Jordan brought Nike to the forefront. Magic and Bird and Isaiah were spokesmen for Converse at the time. So the 80s transitioned into the 90s, and the 90s, Nike just basically took over the market. And that's the same thing that happened with car collectible. Upper Deck was, well, actually, I'm sorry. For a short time, Reebok was, because Reebok had Shaq and Iverson. So for a short time, Reebok was, was respectable. Like, you had to respect. Reebok was making sale. Then, Nike came along. But when we look at the manufacturers today, right now, it's all about Panini. And a monopoly in a market is never good, because a monopoly in a market causes overinflation of prices. And that's what's been going on. I'm going to talk about pricing in the next episode. But a monopoly in a market causes overinflation of prices, because when one company monopolizes the market, they control the pricing. And when they control the pricing, the consumer really have no choices given to them to find competitive pricing or cost-effective pricing. So it really doesn't make it fair to the general public when a market is monopolized. So I want to talk about Panini. I think Panini brought out, Donruss. I know Skybox brought Flair. I think Panini brought out, Hoops. And then there's another manufacturer I'm missing from the manufacturers that were the main manufacturers in the 90s. Panini brought out most of the car manufacturers in the 90s, with the exception of Upper Deck and Top. And what that does is, and then not only did they do that, not only did Panini buy these companies out or acquire these companies, they acquired the company. Then they turned around and started creating offshoot of cars under their name, under their umbrella. You have, National Treasures, you have flawless, you have certified, you have absolute. I think you have about 15 to 20 different brands of basketball and football cards under Panini alone. And that does not include the acquisitions that they have also acquired. So Panini is a giant right now. And to me, that's not a good thing because you got to understand that right now, Panini can afford it right now because the market. I'm also going to talk about the. I also want to talk about the highs and lows. People are asking, is the market crashing? Is this the bottom? And let me say this: no, this is not the bottom. Uh, but in 2016, I'm gonna go back maybe 2014, 2015, 16. The market climbing up, but it wasn't as public. It wasn't as popular until 2018 when things got back into full swing. And in 2019, the pandemic hit for most of the country, and that's when everything caught fire. So Panini made a killing the past 2 years, the past 2.5 years. They made a killing in the market. So they could afford to have all of these diversity under their umbrella, including the subsidiaries that they have acquired. They could afford to do that. But as the market levels out, I'm going to say the next 5 to 7 years, Panini's going to have to make a choice. They're going to have to cut back on expenses. They're going to have to cut back on production. They're going to have to cut back on just the overall outreach because all of that costs money. There's a difference between making a profit and putting that aside for future use, for future revenue, for future acquisitions and whatnot. And there's a way to run a business, to be cost effective, to manage and maintain your portfolio. So what I'm getting at is the value of some of the cards that Panini is producing today may not have or may not hold any value 5, 7, 10 years down the line. For example, if we look at the 90s, in the early 90s, most of the football cards were the popular football cards were produced by ProSet. And ProSet was the premier manufacturer of football cards back in the 90s. Then, as the 90s wore on, we got into 98, 99, 2000. The ProSet value began to diminish because they didn't prepare long term. That they thought, okay, we're going to produce something that the general public wants at that particular time without reference to the effect that the junk wax era will have on the hobby. So ProSet eventually evaporate. Now, when you look at a ProSet card versus a top football card, which holds more value? The top. Why? Because tops is still in existence right now. And their cards still can be validated and authenticated versus the ProSet. ProSet right now is trying to cut back into the hobby, which is why they're making reprint of the 90, 91, and 92 set as a, as an anniversary, 20-year anniversary, 21-year anniversary set. So I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see. Reprints is something a lot of people have. Some people don't like them, and some people don't understand it. So let me talk about reprints for a little bit. Reprints is not necessarily bad for the hobby. Reprints is bad for the hobby if the card is not indicated as a reprint. Because we do have manufacturers that, for anniversary purposes, will say this is a rookie card, a reprint, um, a base set or a parallel set. Those cards will maintain their whole value. Not because it's the reprint, but because it's been authenticated by the manufacturer. So when somebody comes at you with a reprint, don't freak out and say, "Hey, I don't do reprint." Just look at, is this a official reprint, or is this a reprint that somebody made in their basement? So that's the thing I have about reprint. Now back on Panini. Uh, I think it's going to be very critical for us as collectors and investors to be very wary of the type of cards we buy from Panini, because nobody wants to lose money in their investment. It's the same thing as the stock market. When people buy stock in small company in a startup or in up and coming company, they talk about the pros and cons of that company and what that company mean to the general public. What can that company provide to the general public that will be beneficial not only to the public but to the company as well? And then, if it's a win-win or the pro outweigh the con, then people would invest in that company. And there are companies where, in apps as well, where, investors look at it as, this is not going to last no more than 5 years, but I'll buy a little piece and try and flip the stock or try and flip a piece of the company in 1 or 2 years. You have to look at it like that. It's the same thing. With Panini cards, you have to be very wary. Now, I'll say this. I do have my preferences when it comes to Panini cards. I like certified. I think certified, Panini has to make a choice. They're going to have to cut back on, they got certified, they got absolute, they got flawless, they got national treasures, they got woo. I can't even go through all. They have at least 15 of them. They have I can't think of anything else. But I will try and make a list of uh of the cards of the brand. I will try and make a list of the brands that Panini is currently have exclusive rights over at the bottom in the description of the video. But there are, and feel free to comment and share information. I think this is one of the topics that we as collectors and investors need to have a conversation with one another about which Panini cards will hold value over time. And also I want to talk about Panini and Upper Deck. Now, I think it was about a month ago that Upper Deck recently filed a lawsuit against Panini for infringement. I think a copyright infringement. Basically, Panini was okay. Basically, Upper Deck has exclusive right to yeah. Basically, Panini has exclusive rights to. I'm sorry. Upper Deck has exclusive rights to Michael Jordan's likeness. Now, Jordan is a figure, a major figure. He's well, not the face. Back then, for almost 15 years, he was the face of the hobby. And Upper Deck has exclusive rights uh, for Michael Jordan's likeness, his his um his face, his jersey number, and his name. And Panini, I don't know if they did this on purpose or not. You know, I think they did because when you print something, you know what you're printing. You know, but Panini has a couple of cards where Jordan is in the background of of a player, and but they caught that and sued Panini for copyright infringement or exclusive right infringement. And they recently won their lawsuit, and Panini decided they had to settle. Excuse me, they had to settle, and the terms of the settlement was not made public, but Panini had to pay Upper Deck and to close them out for the infringement of Jordan likeness in their set. So that's why you don't see Michael Jordan's cards in Panini set, or you should. So that is is it, it's an indication that I'm going to switch gears for a little bit. I do know I know I kind of go off road sometimes, but it all ties into the topic. And I'm going to try and let me try to cut this short. That goes into what I think is going to happen in the near future. I think that Cox is going to try and come back right now, because right now Cox has exclusive rights for baseball. Cox really does not produce football or basketball anymore. They're focused on baseball, which is good because it's cost effective again, and the baseball hobby has its own money. You know, there's money to be made in that hobby, so Top can afford that. But with what Panini is doing, um, they may shift gear. Upper Deck may end up doing the same thing. Right now, Upper Deck has exclusive right to hockey, and I'm not sure about basketball, but yeah, basketball because of Jordan. But I'm not sure about football. But I think Upper Deck is going to try and get back into the major market again. But with Panini having exclusive right in basketball and football, it's going to be a little tough. And the competition is good. It goes back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video. When one company monopolizes a market, it's not good. But when you have multiple companies creating competition, it's good for everybody. It's good for the company. It's good the manufacturer. It's good for the sport. You know, when you're talking about the league, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, it's good for them. And it's also good for the collectors and the investors. So competition in that market is always good. So I think that's what could happen. Panini kind of took over, and they did it like the way 50 Cent took over hip hop for a short period of time. They took over, they stepped on a lot of toes, and now things are normalizing. You know, I think these manufacturers are going to come back and start um, uh, create a more level market. Now, I want to go back to what I said what I was talking about, the bottom. And I went to a card shop yesterday, and I had a short discussion with the co-owner of the shop, and we were talking about the bottom because he's been in the card. Well, he said the 60s. I don't know about the 60s, but he's been in the card game since the 60s. And I asked him, where's the bottom in your experience? And he really didn't give me an indication. He acted like he didn't know. But in the course of the conversation, I told him I don't know too many people that have a catalog of LeBron James rookie cards, even though the magazine was telling us, the newspaper was telling us, everybody was telling us that LeBron was the next, the chosen one, the chosen one. Sports Illustrated called him the chosen one. He was marketed, he was advertised, but everybody slept on his rookie card. You know why? Because that was the bottom. That was the bottom. The bottom was somewhere in 99, 2000, 2001. Around there. The market bottomed out. I remember because I wasn't in the market. And like I told you guys, I started in 92, 93, 91. And at that time in 2099, I wasn't in the hobby. And my cohort, we started together. And at that time, he wasn't in the hobby. And I know both of us don't have, and people we know, nobody has a catalog of LeBron. Like it meant, LeBron has more rookie cards. I'm not sure about Zion. Zion could compete. But LeBron has more rookie cards than most players today. You understand what I'm saying? Upper Deck printed the heck out of LeBron. You have Tops. You have some Skybox. You have Fleer. You got some random LeBron rookie cards in other set outside of Upper Deck. That's how many cards he had. So this is not the bottom. We're more like in the middle. We're more like it. Okay, first of all, below the middle. Because what happened in last year, you guys got to let go. What happened last year was not going to happen again. Probably not going to happen for another 30 years, another 30, 35 years. What happened in 2019, not going to happen again. It's not going to happen next year. So let it go. We went through it. We enjoyed it. It brought a lot of us back. It brought a lot of new investors and collectors in. But the price point that those cards, Patrick Mahomes card right now, I'm gonna let you know, it's not worth $15,000. And that's gonna be the next episode. I'm gonna break it down. I'm gonna break the price point down in the next episode. But enjoy this episode. Think about the production and manufacturing of all of these cards. How long their value? How can they hold their value over time? And what to invest in? Because what you invest in and what you flip are two different things. You understand what I'm saying? So this should be a very important talking point. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Try to keep it short as possible. And if, like I said earlier, if you like the content and the topic of conversation, be sure to subscribe to the channel, share with your fellow investors and your fellow collectors. And, Conversation rules the nation, as they say. And like the video, I appreciate you. Like, believe that. And feel free to comment. Feel free to comment and let me know what you think. Talk to you later. Until next time. Peace.